Welcome to the Gita in Action podcast. My name's Radha, and I'm here with our family of seekers, and we're reading through the Bhagavad Gita verse by verse. We're really going in deep, learning about the meaning of these verses and its relevance to our lives today. Because the Gita was spoken 5,000 years ago in a battlefield. And sometimes it's like, okay, how does this apply to me? But the more that we get together and we really dig in, we realize how much it really still applies to us. This wisdom is timeless, which is amazing. I mean, it really is just like a testament to the sacred knowledge that it's timeless. So today we're digging in. I will say one more plug. If you want a spot on the Costa Rica retreat, I took down registration because we only have two spots left. So you have to email me directly and we'll figure out. Actually, now we only have one spot left. One spot left. So let's make it happen. It's our whole, we have, I think, pretty much like our Gita family, people from our Gita family, not our whole Gita family, unfortunately, but it's going to this retreat. So it will be really nice time for us all to bask in this association in the Costa Rican sunlight. I mean, what could be better than chasing waterfalls, waterfall meditations, volcano sound baths, beach kirtans? I mean, it's going to be ecstatic. So, one more spot. And also, if you can't go to that, the women's retreat is in April, April 16th through the 19th, I think. It's up on the New Vrindavan website. You can register there. Please come to that. That is actually like my favorite time of the year when we come together and do that retreat. It's so powerful. It's humbling. It's so powerful when women come together and yeah, it's I don't even have words for that retreat. So please sign up for one of them or both of them. Shakti's coming to both. Shakti's going to teach yoga at both. So yes.
And I'm bringing back to George.
And Bhakta George is coming with her to Costa
I,
Rica.
I already told him that he had. I told him what he needs to do, and he is thumbs up on it.
I knew he would be. That's amazing. They're leading a couples yoga class. And yeah, that'll be great. I'm looking forward to the two of you.
I'm looking forward to all of you.
Amazing. Okay, so let's just get right into it. Um, Shakti, I feel like there's a little bit of an echo coming from you again,
Oh wait, let me
like
see.
the last time.
Yes, it says recording. Um, it says that it's recording. I don't know why it says that.
Okay, it's just an echo. Oh, maybe it's better now.
Better now?
Yeah, I think so.
All
Great.
right,
Okay, do you want to start with your prayers?
please. Hmm. Om Jnana Timirandasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Karamayam Dandati Sva Pandatikam Vande Ham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Rakanafavitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savahutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitams Cha Taptakancha Garungi Radhe Vrindavanishvari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Prananami Hari Priye Vanchakapa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavembhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kancha Garungi Radhe Vrindavanishvari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Prananami Hari Priye Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale I'm sorry, uh,
Srimati.
Srimati Vedanta Swami iti namane namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachayane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschataya Tarayane Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadahara Shri Vasari Guru Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Shakti. I feel so, it's like so just grounding and purifying those prayers. Thank you.
Sorry, I was a little off. So my guru wants me to call him at 8:30, so I feel like a little bit freaked out this morning.
Ah,
He left me a message
sweet.
at 3 a.m. I'm like, uh-oh. I don't know.
Ah,
I always think that.
yeah, I know.
Isn't that
It's
like,
great.
do you guys do that? Like if your guru or someone like important calls, you're like, oh my God, what did I do wrong?
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that funny that that's our default so often? Yeah. I do that with my boss sometimes. He's like, set up a meeting between me and you. I'm like, uh-oh. Yeah, I hear you. But it's probably great. It's probably just encouraging. So, okay, let's start with 12, chapter 9, verse 12. And when you're ready, Stella, I'll click on the verse.
Do you want me to do the Sanskrit?
Yeah, if you're comfortable, let's do it.
Yes.
Kalachakra says
Mogas.
yes.
Mogasa moga karmano, moga jnana vijasasaha, rakasim asurim cheva, pakritim mohinim sritaha. Those who are thus bewildered are attracted by demonic and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge are all defeated.
Thank you. So here he's saying that when our consciousness is confused, basically when God is not at the center, then everything we do starts to fall apart. So the different yogic paths that we talked about, the karma yoga, pursuit of liberation, karma yoga, jnana yoga, all these paths, if they're not centered around God, we're just not going to reap the benefits, the rewards. If we're pursuing liberation, it's not going to work the way we expect. Our actions won't give lasting fulfillment. And even our search for knowledge won't bring clarity. And it's not because these other paths are bad, it's because they're done with the wrong center. And we've all experienced this, in life. Like you can have motivation, you can have discipline, you can have a solid plan, but if you're oriented in the wrong direction, none of that effort gets you where you want to go. And we've all experienced this just in a material life. But then when we expand that to what we're learning here in the Gita, it's taking that principle that we've all experienced and extrapolating that to our spiritual lives. And it's saying when God is not at the center of what you're doing, you're not going to reap any of the benefits from it. So this is again, we see all these principles work out in our material life. That's how we kind of start to grasp them. But really, when we apply them in our spiritual life, that's when everything kind of clicks. Like it's like there's no like misalignments anymore. It's like clicks into place and it makes sense. And again, if you're oriented in the wrong direction, none of the effort gets you where you want to go. So Krishna says that these people take shelter of atheistic or demonic views. And that doesn't necessarily mean anything extreme or dramatic. It's often just a mindset where God is pushed out of the center. Something else takes his place. The intellect, the ego, self-improvement, liberation itself, or some abstract idea of the divine that feels more comfortable or controllable. And the irony is that because of this misorientation, people don't even see God, even though he's right there. So instead of becoming free, people actually go deeper into confusion. And not and the consequence here isn't just like karmic bondage, like having to take birth again. But this confusion here, it happens at the level of desire. Like they want to feel fulfilled. They know that. We all have that innate need for connection, for fulfillment, for love. But their desires are misdirected. The ways they're going about trying to get that is it's misdirected. They want peace, but they're chasing things that can't give it. They want freedom, but they end up feeling more frustrated and pulled around than before. And all of us have experienced this. I mean, we see it all over modern life. People throwing themselves into their careers, convinced success will finally bring peace. And a lot of times it doesn't. You know, you get success, you get promotion, you get more of a headache. This can even happen in like self-help avenues or spirituality even. You know, you're hoping that more knowledge will fix the emptiness. And even that only goes so far. It's limited. Self-help is helpful. I love a good self-help book, but we have to acknowledge that the benefit that it can give us is only so far. Even chasing something like enlightenment. You know, if somebody's chasing enlightenment, but they're avoiding surrender, they're still going to feel restless. So Krishna's point here is very precise. When God isn't at the center, even sincere effort, even spiritual effort, can become another form of bondage. We have to put God at the center of our lives, and we have to pursue that relationship in a humble, surrendered mood, not that of a servant. This is the recipe for a peaceful, joyful life, right? Where that hole in our heart is actually filled. And most of us here have been on that search. I mean, I know I've been on that search like my whole life. And I've looked at first for a person that can complete me, my soulmate, or some experience. You know, if I live here, if I live there, if I achieve this, if I achieve that. And Gita wisdom, it wasn't even until I learned this Gita wisdom, but what was actually happening. And what's actually happening again is that we're searching for God. We're all searching for God, whether we know it or not, because He is the source of supreme love and the deepest pleasure of the heart. And to the degree, you know, some of us are in denial of that. Some of us don't recognize it. Some of us, you know, never think about it. But ultimately, that's what we're searching for. Uh, he's like the round peg that fits into the round hole. But most of us are like forcing that square peg into the round hole. And we're like depleted. Like, why isn't this working? Or it works for some time and then we get bored or we need something fresh. But he's the one who actually fits in there. And again, even if we don't recognize it. So the problem isn't the search itself. The problem is the misidentification. And because we don't know the true object of what we're searching for, we're looking everywhere else. And for a moment, again, even each one feels promising. We get pretty excited. You get pretty excited about a new job, a new car, a new relationship. We think this might be it. This is what I've been searching for. This is what's going to make me happy. This is the missing piece of the puzzle. And it might be for some time. But eventually, it isn't. Eventually, it isn't. We have to learn this. We have to realize this so deeply that when we start seeing things that we're attracted to, we understand, look, the happiness that I can derive out of this is limited. And it's not because these things are bad or meaningless. It's just because they simply can't do the job we're asking them to do. They're the square pegs that we're trying to force into that round hole. And we might get some kind of a fit, but it's never going to click completely. And this is because God alone is supreme. No matter how wonderful something is, it can't replace the source. And as we study the Gita, Krishna carefully explains his position, and intellectually, it can start to make sense. We may even think, okay, this is what I've been really looking for. We might kind of get it on some level intellectually. But our minds might not yet be there because our mind is so conditioned. Our mind has been disappointed before. Our mind gets it. Our mind has trusted that things have looked perfect. We've invested deeply and then we've watched the excitement fade. So that even when the mind encounters Krishna and feels something real, it encounters that round peg, it still sees it as a square peg. It's like, this is cool, but it's probably going to fade too. But this is the beautiful thing about spiritual life, and many of us have experienced this and are experiencing it more and more, is that unlike material energy, that kind of gets old. It gets old, it falls away, it decays. I think of my mom right now. She's on this call. My mom is like a world-class pickleball player. She loves pickleball, and she's good at it. She's good at it. But I love you, Mom. Please don't be offended. But eventually her body's not even going to be able to do it anymore. And so it's like, even if it does give us this supreme excitement, it's eventually the nature of material energy is going to be taken away from us. And we have to confront that. And at that moment when these things happen to us, it's like we can either then just pivot to more material energy, right? Or we can pivot to something that is eternal, that is actually that fits in our hearts in a nice snug manner. And we don't have to, find something else to replace it when it's gone or when we can't do it anymore. No, it's there. It's eternal, that relationship, and it's ever fresh. Because Krishna's attractiveness, it doesn't fade. God's attractive. There's no bottom to him. There's no point where you reach the end and say, all right, that's it. I got all the happiness I can get out of that. And Krishna, he never loses his appeal. Right? And if it feels like he has, it's not because he's changed. It's because we're staying on the surface level of consciousness. And this is what's so beautiful I love about this path. It really teaches us to go beneath the surface level of consciousness. It's not spiritual life is not just like a declaration like I believe in God. God is my person. No, it's like you develop a relationship with God. And when we do that, when we have this real connection with God that requires depth, this requires depth. We have to approach him with a heart that wants to love, right? Or at least a heart that's learning how to love and honestly asking him for shelter. Yeah, when we do that, then we experience this real connection. And this is the round peg that we've all been looking for that fits in our hearts nicely. Then we never have to take it out. It just fits in there nicely, and it's ever fresh. It just keeps growing and growing. Our happiness, our joy, our peacefulness. It's infinite. Huh? So that's what makes this verse so helpful. When we become rooted in the realization of who God really is, that's a tall order, right? It takes time, it takes effort, it takes discipline, it takes committed practice for this connection. But when we become rooted in that realization of who God really is, our mind will gradually stop searching for alternatives. And this isn't because we force it. It's not because we repress the desire. It's because we finally feel satisfied. And through through steadily strengthening our understanding and sincerely seeking God's shelter, the mind's endless search, it comes to a rest. Not through denial, not through repression, but through connection. And this is amazing. This is the fruit of this practice. And I'm going to share one more story, and then I want to hear what Stella has to say. But right before we got on this call, Kay was asking me, Radha, what's the real color of your hair? Because you notice my hair is like dark right now. And I was telling her, this is actually the real color of my hair. Since I was 15 years old, I would dye my hair blonde. And I got really attached to the way that I looked with blonde hair. I always got more attention with blonde hair. It was just, I thought I looked better, and I liked it. Right? When I got into spiritual life, I thought, I don't really want to take so much shelter of my looks anymore, but I'm still really attached to having blonde hair. I'm attached to this attention that I get from having blonde hair. It's just like I wasn't ready to let it go, even though it's costing me lots of money and lots of time. But I got to this point where I was like, you know what? I don't really care anymore what color my hair is or how much attention I get from my looks. Like, I just was like, I don't need to take so much shelter of my looks anymore. And this comes from taking so much shelter in Krishna that I don't need that anymore. That was something I was pushing into the square peg that I was filling my heart with, one of them. I mean, I got a lot of square pegs in there. That it was just it wasn't really serving me in the way that Krishna serves me, that my relationship with Krishna serves. And it was like, it's not, there's no reason. I don't need to do that anymore. So this is what happens when we find that right peg and we get ready to put it in there. It will displace the other ones. And the result is a life, is a more simple, joyful life, really centered around God in a more and more authentic way. That's just an example of my own life. I've got a lot more pegs I need to get out of there. But Stella, what do you have for us?
Yeah, I think it's also once you, how do I say this? Once you put God at the center, um, I found that like when those, if happiness comes to you or you find happiness in something, you take off the expectation that it's going to last, that it's, the shelter, but you can still enjoy it. It's like, don't stop playing pickball. Like it's good for you. Have happy feelings in it, like happy feelings. I think God is happy when we're happy, but the difference is knowing it's transient and it's not the goal. There's still, and I mean, I think to lead a balanced life where you don't feel repressed or um denied, you know, and not feel guilty about having a really happy moment. And my whole life, I've for some reason always felt like if I we lived very we were pretty poor, but we knew a lot of very wealthy people, and I would go to their houses and I would enjoy their house. But I always knew it was like I got to enjoy it for a short time. I don't need to enjoy it forever. In fact, it's freeing not to have the burden of having to enjoy it forever or maintain it or upkeep it. I could just visit. Like, and I think,
Yes.
and I've come as I, went on my journey, I realized like we can visit those moments of happiness or even look for a happy moment by going down and having an ice cream sundae or something and knowing its real position. And
Mm,
and it's I mean, like, because we are in search of pleasure, but just add Krishna, like because sometimes I think some of the, some people get into this fanatical thing of like, you can't take enjoyment from senses, it's like, well, yeah, they're naturally enjoyable, as long as it's in the mode of goodness kind of thing. Um, but just discern that it's not forever, and I don't know, we've had a really happy life doing that.
that's that's so beautiful. What a perfect perspective. So we're trying to we're not like we can still even engage with these things that are fun or play like that's good. But just know, love what you said, just know that it's temporary, that it's not forever. And that we just kind of want to change our relationship with it in that way. We know that it's not forever. And even better than that is trying to do it in service to God, whatever we like. But yeah, that's and the ultimate zoom out of that is knowing that our bodies are not forever. We're going to have to say goodbye to them one day. And so we really want to cultivate this mindset and this relationship with material energy, recognizing that is just a fact. And it's not something we can run away from or deny or not think about till we get old. Because it's coming for you, and that's a terrible plan. That's like the ultimate procrastination of life. It's like, I'm just not going to deal with it right now. It's like, all right, well, it's going to deal with you. So, you know, get ready. Yeah, very nice. Thank you, Stella. I love Stella. Stella's your perspective. It's always it's so soft. And I know you've been practicing for, I mean, maybe longer than I've been here. A long time you've been practicing. So we really appreciate your soft and wise and experienced perspective. Shakti, what do you think?
I wasn't, I put my hand up and then I was like, so similar to you, this is my natural color, I think. Because like you, since I'm 15, she's like, so I'll tell you why really quickly, but I, my hair, she's like, you need to go back to your natural color. What is it? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't really, my eyebrows are tattooed on. So I don't know what color anything is. So she said, it's probably this color, which this is probably close to it. Now, why? Well, as I got older, and I was very attached to my blonde hair. And even when I would go to India, they'd take a picture with they would hand me their babies, like, but as a brunette, they didn't see, they didn't like, they weren't so excited. And so for me, yeah, it was like this. It was this thing I was so attached to. And you know what happened? I started getting alopecia when I went through menopause, and I had circle. My hair was falling out. My hair fell out. It was like
Oh, wow.
I had circles all over my head, so much so that I bought a wig because I thought I was gonna have no hair. And then I'm like, and then I put the wig on. I'm like, I can't wear this wig. I'm just gonna shave my head. If my hair's falling, I'm just gonna shave my head. So like so much so that it sometimes like Krishna does like I don't like, and I don't think he does it in a way of like, you're so attached, I'm taking it away. Bad. I think he's saying you don't need to be attached to that. Let me show you. You don't need to be
Mm,
attached. Like he's it's in a loving way. And
mm,
they say, if he loves you, if Krishna loves you, he takes everything away, right? And that's how
mm,
I looked at it. And so I'm like, all right, you know what? Like I'm just gonna roll with this and see what happens. And eventually I went back to my natural color, which is this color, and didn't it didn't hurt my hair is that's why
mm,
it's so fat and healthy, because
mm,
I got rid of all of the, like you, the 3 hours of dyeing and all that time. I could spend that time dressing Krishna and Radha.
mm,
I sit down for 3 hours downstairs putting a nose ring on Radha with a little thing to the ear, and that takes a lot of time, and I could do that, and that is so exciting,
mm.
instead of getting my hair colored, you know.
Right.
And so I wanted to share that because you were sharing, and I was like, oh my God, like it's so similar, but like Krishna kind of did it for me.
Yeah.
And I see it that way. Like I'm so lucky like that I'm in a position where I'm like where I'm not like, what's he, oh, I thought Krishna was, no, I know he's doing it for me. Look who
Beautiful.
look who's here.
Wow. George,
Morning.
welcome. We're so happy
Hi.
you're here. Welcome.
Like, oh, missing it. Gotta come down.
That's such a beautiful realization, Shakti. And I love how you said Krishna's doing it in a loving way, just to say, hey, you don't need this. You can turn towards me. Because
Yes.
that's what we're all doing here. It's this rehabilitation center that all of this is meant to teach us that we just need to turn back towards God. And in the meantime, when we're trying to enjoy separately, when we're spending all this money and to get our hair done, and it takes all this money, all this time, then we have to work to make the money to, we invest in our ego. It's going to be stressful. We're going to be in anxiety. We're going to be in that comparison mentality. I mean, it's just it's not a real recipe for any peace or happiness or joy. And I mean you'll get some, but it's just like very superficial and very small and doesn't last very long until you got to go work your butt off to make more money to support that kind of lifestyle. It's just like, yeah, that's why spiritual life, when we can start to develop relationship with God and we want to orientate our life around that, it becomes simple and peaceful. and happy. I mean, we're right. It's the way we're designed to be. So nice. Thank you. Beautiful. Okay, so the last thing I want to address about this verse, and this is Prabhupada talks about this a lot in the purport, so I want to just kind of highlight it. It's this verse is especially addressing those who deny God's personal nature. And this is what Prabhupada calls Mayavad thinking. This is where the conception of God it's more abstract. It's this conception of God, it's minimized. It's ultimately replaced by the self or the intellect. This is like we're all one. We all merge into one. That kind of philosophical thinking. And so this verse is largely pointing towards this impersonalistic thinking. And I want to say this, I'm thinking of Erin when I say this, because I remember that wonderful question she brought up months ago. When we say impersonalist thinking, it's not just people who appreciate the impersonal aspect of God. That's natural and that's beautiful. If you're attracted to the impersonal aspect of God, again, being attracted to like the sun rays, right? God's energy. God is everywhere. God is all pervading. Beautiful. Attracted to that. But it's when we say impersonalist thinking, we're talking about those who conclude that that's the whole truth. That is God. God is one. We all merge. There's no difference. That's it. God's ultimately impersonal. And that in the end, we all merge. There's no longer you. There's no longer God. We're just one. And Krishna sees this as especially dangerous because this way of thinking, it looks spiritual on the surface, but it's actually not really at all because it's completely lacking personal relationship. And in bhakti, personal relationship, that's it. Like I have to remain, I have to keep my individuality so that there can be relationship with God. There does have to be some kind of difference so that I can serve God. I can have relationship with God because that is bhakti. That connection is what brings the ultimate joy to the heart. So when we say, oh, it's all one, it kind of just like poofs on it. There's like no connection if we're all one. Like I can't have a connection with something that I am. It takes two people for relationship. And so this way of thinking, it can be very dangerous. And it can be more dangerous than even like materialistic thinking, because with a materialist, like the orientation is clear. Like you can see where their heart is pointing. It's like a disease that shows up on the skin. It's very obvious. It's visible. But with an impersonal a person who has impersonalistic uh, tendencies, or that their definition of God is impersonal, it's more like an internal disease. They might not look unhealthy. In fact, they could look very healthy. They could look very spiritual. They could be spending a lot of time meditating, quoting scripture, speaking about liberation, oneness. But their conclusion quietly removes relationship with God. And that's the real problem, and that's the danger. And if there's no difference between the living entity and God, then there's no one left to relate to. There's no one to love. There's no one to serve. There's no exchange. And bhakti is built entirely on relationship. Again, relationship is how love exists. Relationship is how joy is tasted. Relationship is how fulfillment deepens. So Krishna's not saying this to criticize spirituality. He's just saying it to protect devotion. Because when the misunderstanding is subtle and dressed up as realization, it's much harder to recognize and it's much harder to move beyond. So that's why Krishna's saying in this state, even spiritual efforts don't give the desired result. Because the conclusion itself blocks the very relationship that the soul is meant for. The conclusion that we're all one. That's what we're doing here. I just want to, we're all one. There's no room for relationship in that. And it blocks the relationship the soul is meant for. It like covers up the hole in the heart so that it's just empty. Okay, so after describing all of this confusion, Krishna is going to do something very compassionate. He's going to turn his attention to those whose orientation is clear. to the pure devotees, for those who have simply placed Krishna back at the center and let everything else fall into its proper place. And so that's where we're going next. Because when the center is right, direction becomes clear, effort becomes meaningful, and the journey actually leads somewhere eternal. So that's where we're going with the next verse. Stella, do you want to read the next verse for us?
Sure.
Let me just click.
Mahatmanas tu mam partha devam prakrim ashritaha bhajante ananya manaso gyandvat buddhadim avyayam. The hardest. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible.
Thank you.
Inexhaustible.
Yeah, what do you think of that?
I love that word, inexhaustible. That's a
What do you think of when you say it? Why do you love it?
um, I so often feel exhausted when he's inexhaustible. Like he's just there's no
Yeah.
you cannot be exhausted. Like there's exhausted means depleted, yeah, I guess, right? Um, yeah.
And
I,
that's what they say about like really connected great souls like that just sit in meditation all day, like they hardly have to sleep because they're so connected. They're not pulled down by the material modes.
yeah.
And they're just, I mean, they hardly have to eat. They are inexhaustible. They get to that point. Maybe not to the degree that God is, but it compared to us, it's like, wow.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's beautiful. And so that's Krishna in this verse. He's showing us the other side. So in the last couple verses, he described the most dangerous misunderstanding when our orientation is off, when God's not at the center. So now he's turning and he's saying, let me show you the highest understanding. And he uses this word mahatmas. Mahatmas. This means the great souls. This means the great souls. And in this verse, he gives a very clear picture of what a mahatma actually looks like. And this is beautiful because a Mahatma isn't great because they're powerful, because they're influential, or because they're impressive on the outside. If we think about like people that we really respect, or a lot of times it's people that are these things. They're powerful, they're influential, they're impressive. This is not what he's talking about. The Mahatmas are great because they're already living under a different influence. They're no longer under the control of material nature. They're directly under divine nature. They're like plugged in so directly to the source that 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 it's just flowing through them. And in that way they're not controlled by material nature. And how does this happen? We learned in the Gita earlier, the moment a person surrenders to God, they're freed from material nature's grip. So it's like again, when we decide that we're ready to turn towards God, let God, be the center of our lives, be instruments for God. When we're ready for that in a really sincere way, God reciprocates. Because as living beings, what the Gita teaches us that we're what we call marginal. So that means that we're always under some influence. Either material nature is guiding us, we're just caught up in the waves of the modes of nature, passion, goodness, ignorance, we're just caught up, right? Or spiritual nature is. There's no like neutral. So that when someone turns towards towards God and says, "I'm yours," the guidance changes. Material nature lets go and spiritual nature takes over. And again, this isn't just a declaration like, okay, today I'm going to decide that I'm God's. That's what I want. I'm sick of material. It's it's something that it's a realization. It's something that comes really deep from the heart. And when we're there, when we're ready for that, God's ready. I mean, he's just waiting for us. So this is what makes someone a Mahatma, a great soul. It's not independence, but it's shelter. It's not control, but it's connection. And this is why Krishna describes the great souls as fixed in devotion. A great soul, their mind is it's not constantly bouncing around from thing to thing like we are, right? Searching for the next thing to satisfy them. No, they're steady. They're not rigid, they're not closed, but they're anchored. They know who God is. They understand that he's the beginning of everything, the source of existence, that he's inexhaustible. That it doesn't, you don't reach the bottom of Krishna, you don't outgrow him. Right? You don't exhaust his sweetness. And when someone really understands this and realizes this, and not just intellectually, but again, in words, this is when the search really slows down. This is when the heart really settles. And this is the quiet greatness of a Mahatma. Not someone who's become bigger. It's someone who's become under the shelter of something infinitely greater. That's what makes them great. It's kind of beautiful. This is like material thinking like flipped on its head. In quest of really connection with with the greatest force, with the greatest power. And these are powerful people. I mean, like I said, they don't even when a person who's really connected with God at source, I mean, they're powerful people. They can't really be shaken by material waves. I mean, this is the ultimate power. They're steady, they're peaceful. And here's the key idea. The soul itself is tiny. The soul itself is tiny. We are all living entities. We all have a soul, and it's covered by this material package. But the soul itself is really tiny. But when the soul connects with the Supreme Soul, it becomes great. And again, not by becoming independently powerful, but by being linked to the one who already is. So this is what the word Mahatma means. One who has taken shelter. What do you think, Shakti?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, when there is a Mahatma, it's almost like they don't, it's not, they don't know it, they don't say it, they don't need to tell you. It's like you see Radhanath Swami, he's not like talking about, I read the Gita, I read a whole Gita. He's you know what I mean? Listen, he's just walking around in his own greatness, and he doesn't have to tell anybody. And that it's so different, like people that have to tell you how I'm going to read the Bhagavad Gita, I'm going to read it all, and oh, it's a Ekadasi, I'm not going to eat anything, I'm not even have water. Great, that's good for you. So that, but I think that whole piece, the Mahatma really is that person who, at least for me, or I look at and like they're like I look and don't let me just say this. I have to say this because it's in my heart. When I look at you,
Oh no, don't
look
say
at
it.
Stella, I think Mahatma. I think, wow, that I aspire, like, and not in a way of like, ah, but like in a way of like, wow, like I see and I see the behavior that you do, and the way that you, when I'll say something and you're like, wow, you're so whatever, and I'm like, she sees the like just the things that you say, things that you do, the way that you behave, there's no, so it's not, I'm not saying, I think there's different, like Radhanath Swami, he's like,
Mm.
woo, all the way up here, but there are people that I look at in my life, and yeah, and Sel's writing years of trying, but yeah, that's it. And so you're many years ahead of where I am, but I look at it and I go, wow, that's how I want, by the grace of God, I want to be like that, so what I do is I spend time with those people so that maybe it's going to rub off on me, and it does. So that I find like that if a Mahatma doesn't have to always be that it could be that it is that, but for me, I look at people that are, there's always some people that are a few steps below, behind you on the trail, right? They're behind you and you're walking, and sometimes they're right on your heels, but then they go back a little bit, right? And then there's people that are a little bit ahead of you, and I don't think there's anything. I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm saying it's like really in a good way. And it's like if you can find the people, like for me, I think if I can find the people that are somewhat ahead of me and spend time with them, if I like them, which I thank God I do, well, I love them, but because I love them, because of the way that they are, that allows me to grow. It helps me grow. And then I can be a better person, right? So it's like not because I want to get accolades, just
Mm,
because I want to think and feel and be. I want to have, I want my heart to be more clean.
mm,
As we clean out when we say the prayers every day, right?
mm,
And so by spending time with people like here that's why I like if when people ask me, I can't miss this because this is part of my scrubbing, right?
mm,
From my scrubbing. And I think it's good to look at Mahatma that way as well.
mm. Wow. Such profound wisdom from Shakti. Such a relatable package. Thank you, Shakti. Yes, I am certainly nowhere near Mahatma, but I do understand what you're saying that when you start to become more internally satisfied, you don't really seek the external satisfaction or validation or gratification as much. And I can say I do feel that happening more in my life as I become more internally satisfied. And I also will say, a person that you view as in front of you, they will never view themselves as in front of you. This is like the mark of somebody who's really that humble servant. They don't see that they don't like I think of my boss, I think of him like that. And I'll say this things to him, of that sort, and he'll say, no, 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 no. It's like they don't, and that's another mark of a person who, like to your point, is really worth like learning from, and it's because they don't see that they're so humble, and that's what we're trying to cultivate in our hearts. Really nice. Appreciate you, Shakti. So the second part of this verse, Krishna says that these souls, these great souls, are under the protection of divine nature. We talked about that a little bit. You're under the protection of divine nature. You're no longer just like tossed around by the waves. And Prabhupada explains that this divine nature, this is an indirect reference to Radharani, to Krishna's internal pleasure-giving potency. And this is so practical because we all have some ability to enjoy. So we all experience this on a daily basis. Like my friend cooked this incredible feast yesterday. I enjoyed it so much, I will say. But it's very limited. Our ability to enjoy it's very limited. Like I can't just eat unlimitedly. In fact, I probably overate a little bit and felt a little, unsettled. Right? We just don't, we're finite beings. We don't have this capacity to enjoy unlimitedly because we're so small. And when we try to enjoy separately from God, we get some pleasure, but then we get the consequences. Like I said, I'm eating for my own enjoyment, and it's so good, I'm just going to keep eating. But then my stomach doesn't feel so good. Yeah. So, and on the bigger scale, what to speak of, karmic reactions, entanglement, exhaustion. This is what happens when we try to enjoy separately from God. Karmic reactions, entanglement, exhaustion. But Krishna's pleasure-giving potency, it's unlimited. So when the individual soul, when the jiva stops trying to enjoy independently and instead connects with God, something shifts. The soul starts enjoying through that divine connection, which has unlimited capacity to enjoy. You see what's happening here? So this is where real happiness comes from. It's not forced, it's not artificial, it's flowing. This is when you get like in the ocean of mercy because you connect to it. You're not on your own, trying to support a pretty big voltage because you're going to blow up. But you connect to it and you become an instrument. And in that way the happiness, it's unlimited and it flows through you. So this is how the soul becomes elevated, purified, and ultimately liberated by taking shelter of this divine nature. So when Krishna describes the Mahatma here, he's really describing their inner world, their understanding, their orientation, their steady focus on him. And what happens is when this is really cultivated, that inner devotion, it naturally expresses itself outwardly. It can't help it. And so in the next verse, we'll get to the next class, it's going to describe their actions, the actions of a Mahatma. So devotion is internal, service is external. We say devotional service. Devotion is like a disposition, in an internal connection. And then the service is what flows from that. Ideally, it is ideally. So when the two come together, that's authentic bhakti. So in the next verse, we're going to talk about how someone with that heart moves in this world. That's where we're going. We have some time for reflections. Does anybody want to? Aaron, you're not on video today, but if you're able, we'd still love to hear from you. I'll pick on Kate. Oh, there you are. Great.
Good morning. Hare
Good
Krishna.
morning.
Sorry, I had to charge my phone, so I'm in a different different locale. No, this is so beautiful. I was just thinking like back to the whole Mayavadi thing. Um, I like a couple of years ago was talking to a pujari, and there was a person we were talking about, and she was about to go join some temple or ashram, so to speak. And he was like, his reaction was like, ah, that's a Mayavadi ashram. And I was like, how do you know? Like I was just like, and obviously I get that there's like philosophy behind it, and I know very little about bhakti philosophy, let alone others' philosophy. But I just feel like sometimes it's like I don't know that it's that explicit in a lot of religions, or maybe that's just my own, ignorance of, the different philosophies, or maybe it's like blatantly obvious to people and just not to me. But yeah, I just was like, I get it in this context, right? But I do not know, like, I could never comfortably say, unless I read someone else saying that that person or that lineage is impersonalist, that I would just know that, like, I wouldn't know what to watch out for, so to speak. And so I feel like, it makes, like, that's okay, right? Because the whole point is like to go deep with one path, right? And not to like just experiment and taste. But I do feel that the latter is much more common in the West, but also just like in this day and age of like, whatever new age, whatever you want to call it, like that, like people do because they are searching, and I think that's genuine, but it's like, they want to experiment, and I just feel so fortunate that I ended up where and how and when I ended up, because I don't know that I ever would have been able to be like, this doesn't feel right because it's lacking a relationship. Like, I'm not evolved
Mm,
to that level to, like, I think it would have taken my whole lifetime to then look back and be like, wait a
mm,
minute. So I feel like I just lucked into this path of relationship, and that it just like concerns me for myself that I don't see it as obvious for like in other paths, if it does or does not involve
mhm.
impersonalism. And then I'm also just so concerned for people that are experimenting, because like obviously you're supposed to be where you are, right? And those
Mm.
are the lessons you need to learn. But yeah, I just feel so fortunate that I
Yeah.
didn't go through those like different paths or lineages, because I don't know that I would have known to be concerned about it.
Mm. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. I used to practice an impersonal path. I think I might have practiced an impersonal path in my last life, to be honest with you, because I have an attraction towards it, and sometimes it's logical to me, if I'm being honest. But what even got me at like what I stopped practicing it, why I stopped practicing it and started practicing bhakti was because I felt so much more joy in my heart with bhakti. Like I think the impersonal path served me at a time where it brought me a lot of peace and I wasn't really ready for like a serious relationship, so to speak. Like I was kind of burnt out. It was just very peaceful and I it connected me kind of like back into to that. But then when I started chanting that, I chanted a different mantra, an impersonal mantra actually. But then when I started chanting the Maha mantra, it was like a turbo. I felt so much relationship like immediately, to be honest with you, that I and like the happiness and the joy aspect. I experienced that and the difference just from the practices of an impersonal path and the practices of more of a bhakti path. And it's but I agree with you that it's like once we choose a path, better to stay on our path. That's how we make progress. If we're kind of dipping our toes into lots of different things, we're just gonna kind of be circumambulating the mountain instead of climbing up it. So it's good. You don't even really need to worry about that anymore because you've chosen a path and you can just associate with people that are also on this path because that will help you also climb the mountain and and you are fortunate. Thanks, Aaron. What do you think, George? You're nodding your head.
Well, I know.
You're on mute. You just muted yourself.
So I mean, I popped in on the call late, but um, you know, I was talking about the other day, so I do the music stuff that I do. I have a daily radio show for independent artists, and we give them opportunities to have their songs play on the radio. And when I do my weekly, Instagram live stream, like I was in terms of music, but it really can relate to, just life in general. Um, like a lot of artists, independent artists, and especially if they're kind of starting out or they're just kind of finding their way, part of the thing is they want everyone to like what they do, right? They want everyone to
Mm,
like their music, but I tell them like, look, human nature, not everyone is going to like your music, and that's okay, right? That's okay, because us ourselves, like there's music that you like to listen to, and there's certain styles you're like, you might take a listen to it, but might not be your cup of tea, right? So from a listener perspective, you have your certain tastes. um but I tell the artists, like, they a lot of times they'll try and get the ones that don't sort of vibe with their sound to want to like their music, right? So I'm like, you're wasting your energy there, because you have,
mm,
let's just say law of averages, right? So for, I don't know, every 10 people, if you have 3 out of 10, right? Or 4 out of 10 that like your music, that's pretty good, right? Because if anyone's into sports, if you follow baseball, let's just say if you're a hitter and you're batting 300, that means for every 10 at bats, you're getting a hit 3 times, which means the other 7, you're either striking out or you're not getting on base, right? So if you think about it, that's to someone who doesn't understand the game, it's like, oh, this person can't hit a baseball, right? They're only getting 3 hits for every 10 at bats. But 3 hits for every 10 at bats is actually really good. So, when we talk about, what to focus on, you focus on sort of the like-minded energy. You focus on that community that, is kind of vibing with you, right? Um, and yes, I know Aaron talks about, be experimenting for sure. Like, the part of human nature too is like we're always trying to, like, if you're a risk taker, like, ooh, let me try that, or ooh, let me try that. Even though, like, in our brain, it's, at the end of the day, you're like, yeah, I probably shouldn't, but I'm gonna try it anyway, right? And then, but that's, again, as human nature, like, that's kind of, it's how you learn, right? And you're gonna try things along the way. Things you try, you know, consequences, sure. Like, so you always try to make smart choices, but yeah, I mean, through life, you're gonna try stuff that doesn't work out, and you try stuff that does. So then you kind of focus and you gather the things that do work, and especially, with what you've built here, this is like a community, a family of, that same energy, right? So, we it's always important um to think about, that community, because, here, whoever's here right now, this is something we do twice a week, but that, hey, there is, you have connections with others that are on that same journey. So you're not alone, and sometimes we think, you gotta do it all. I have to do it all myself. Like, you know, people want to help, but we block them out. Like, no, 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 I got this. I got this. No, 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 I got this. I got this. But at a certain point, there's only so much that your shoulders you know, can handle. Um,
I like that. I
strength in,
like,
right? Strength in numbers, because it's to go on the journey, with a group, it's so much more fun than going it alone.
definitely. Definitely. And I like that. I'm going to take away if 3 people out of 10 are your people, that's pretty good. And it's
Uh,
okay if people aren't your people. Let them not be your people.
that's it, because I think
I like that.
there's that internal. It's like we want to be liked.
Yeah.
That's just, again, it's human nature, right?
Right.
You want to be liked. You want to be, some. There's just that connection. You want the connection, right? So, you know, just back to what I said at the beginning, especially with music, music is a universal language, but at the same time, everyone's ears are different. How they
Mm,
how
right.
they take that sound in. So some, again, you have the law of averages, right? And
Right.
it doesn't have to be, if we're talking school terms, you don't have to get 100.
Yeah.
You get 30%. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some people go into the Mayavadi path that might be just what they need at this point in their life, you know?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. That was me when I
Yeah.
pursued that. So serves a purpose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Such wise, wise wisdom. And last but not least, Kay, do you want to share a couple things with us before we end?
No, no, I'm listening and I'm enjoying everything. Being the finite beings, we cannot eat per se, a lot of rasagullas or gulab jamuns or things like that. But, it is so nice to hear and understand that the soul can be with something, with connection with God, can be in that infinite happiness that we were talking about, the mahatmas. We don't know what it is, I mean, how it is to be like that, but the happiness that they probably have, the satisfaction, the steadiness in connection with God, how that must be. Like you said, you ate and you enjoyed. But then, I mean, the same thing with us. We'll see the rasagullas and we'll eat. We want to enjoy, but how much can you eat? Or so we are still on this. We want to be on that. And I want to know if Danny wants to say anything, Kalachanji wants to say anything.
Yeah. What do you think, Kalachandri?
I love rasagullas.
You love rasagullas.
We do. But how many can we eat, right?
Yeah, many. But
I have
yes,
a feeling
good
he can
point.
eat a lot.
I just really wanted to say quickly with the talking about Mahatmas and, Radha, you're such a facilitator and, you really are appreciating and you bring out the best in all of us. And I really appreciate hearing from everyone and I'm learning from everyone. But I have to say, like today, I really felt it. We really appreciate you as our teacher. Like you are our
Yes.
teacher.
Yes.
And thank you for that. And you're so good at it. And that's all I was really feeling.
We all
that.
agree.
Thank you, Radha Priti, for being our Shiksha Guru.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
good.
thank you.
Today you were really on today, as always. So thank you.
No, thank you so much for the encouragement. Really, when I feel like people give me that feedback, I feel like it's when I'm doing a lot of service and when I'm like the most connected to God. Because I've been doing nonstop service the past 2 weeks, and then I get feedback like that. I'm like, oh, okay, that's why. Because when we're connected to God, it flows.
Yeah.
Right?
The current is on. The current is going.
It's so yes, service. It's a secret recipe, and I was just having this conversation with Veda Sar yesterday because he taught me this and he demonstrated it for me, and I'm so grateful now because that's it. That's the secret to life is this service, and thank you for your encouragement.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
And that's the satisfaction of life too.
And that's yes, perfect. That's the satisfaction of life. Thank you. Shakti, you want to bring us home here and then we'll close out for the day?
Yeah, I know we're late, but I just wanted to I had to leave. I called my guru, right?
Yeah.
And I just wanted to share, like, right. I was like, oh my God, what did I do? He's like, I'm so proud. Thank you so much for your steadfast service and really trying to get Hamilton up and running. I really appreciate all that you and Jorge, Dr. Jorge are doing. And like he just was like, and he's like, I just wanted to know, how is everything going? Did you get into a like it was really all good. Like just like you said, he just wanted to praise and just question things and see if he could help me in any way. And here I was like, oh my God, what do I do? So I just needed to share that because I thought it was funny, like full circle.
You brought us full circle. Perfect. That's great. Beautiful. We love you, Shakti. We're so happy for you and watching you grow and bloom. Yes. Well, thank you all, family. And I will see you all on Monday.
Monday.
Today's Thursday. Yeah, Monday.
Whoa.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.